Have you ever felt like your mind is a battlefield where anxiety always wins? What if I told you that one single thought could silence that storm, almost like magic? You only lose what you cling to. Buddha, let that sink in. That one truth holds the power to break the chains of overthinking, fear, and inner chaos. Right now, millions are trapped in their own minds, crushed under the weight of invisible worries. Are you one of them? Then pause and ask yourself, what if the escape has always been within you and you just didn't see it? In this video, you'll uncover a forgotten teaching, an ancient mental shift that rewires how you respond to stress. The real problem isn't anxiety, it's how you're holding on to it. And if you're going to get anything out of this video, just get that. That's all you need to know in life. And stay until the end. There's a powerful bonus lesson waiting for you. Number 1, the real root cause of anxiety. Most people miss this. Imagine your mind as a forest, calm until a single spark ignites the underbrush. That spark, a thought you cling to, how things should be, how people should act, how your life should unfold. That clinging is the fuel. And anxiety, it's the fire. Not born from what is, but from your resistance to what is not. This is the root cause most people never see. Buddhism teaches that suffering is not caused by the external world, but by our internal attachments to it. Nothing is to be clung to as I, me, or mine. This simple truth is like water to that fire. The moment we try to possess certainty, control, or approval, we unknowingly tighten the very knots we seek to untie. Anxiety grows not from chaos, but from our refusal to let go of how we wish things would be. Think about the last time you felt overwhelmed. Was it the situation, or your fear of losing control? Was it truly the noise around you, or the story you were telling yourself about it? There was a man who used to panic at every missed opportunity. One day, he began to question, not the world, but his need for it to behave a certain way. He replaced, "Why is this happening to me?" with, "What is this teaching me?" And in that moment, the fire weakened. His peace wasn't in the absence of difficulty, but in the absence of attachment to outcomes. This is the Buddhist secret. Anxiety isn't the enemy, attachment is. When we release our grip on needing things to go our way, we create space for clarity, for acceptance, for breath. So here's your pause. What are you holding on to that's holding you back? Can you sit in uncertainty without trying to fix it? Catch the moment when your heart tightens, when you demand validation, security, perfection, and ask, is this a truth or just a craving? The answer will change everything. The mind, like water, only reflects clearly when still. Let go of the need to stir it. Just observe, just breathe. Because the real power isn't in controlling life. It's in controlling how you respond to life. And the moment you choose to observe instead of attach is the moment anxiety begins to dissolve. Let go, not to lose, but to free. Build a strong, disciplined mind. Not one that clings, but one that breathes. And you'll find peace, not like magic, but like truth. 2. Breath is the bridge back to inner calm. There's a storm in your mind, thoughts racing, heart pounding, everything feels urgent. But here's the truth, you're not in the storm, you're caught inside it, and the bridge back to calm, it's not another thought, it's not a solution you haven't found, it's your breath. Your breath is the remote control to your nervous system, available, quiet, and often ignored. But within it lies a hidden key to peace. Buddhist teachings have long pointed to the breath as the gateway to liberation, not through struggle, but through stillness. Feelings come and go like clouds in a windy sky. Conscious breathing is my anchor. When anxiety hijacks your mind, it pulls you into imagined futures or painful pasts. But your breath, it exists only now. And each time you follow it, you step out of the storm and into this moment. There's a man I met once who told me he felt like he was being chased by his own thoughts, never resting, never fully present. I didn't give him advice. I gave him a practice. I told him, place your hand on your heart, inhale for 4 seconds, hold for 7, exhale for 8. Do it slowly, 3 times. He laughed at first, but when he tried it, something shifted. It's like the noise went quiet, he whispered. That's the power of presence. That's the magic of breath. Anxiety thrives in anticipation. Breath thrives in the now. The more you choose to return to it, the more you vote for peace over panic. You begin to teach your body, I am safe, I am steady, I am here. Each breath becomes a retreat from fear, a return to clarity. So ask yourself honestly, are you breathing? Or are you being breathed by anxiety? Can one breath be your first step to peace today? Try it now. Feel the air enter your lungs. Hold it like a gift. Let it go with intention. No fixing, no chasing, just being. This is how a strong, disciplined mind is built. Not all at once, but one conscious breath at a time. A breath taken not in fear, but in awareness, in surrender, in trust. The world may not slow down, but you can. Because when you control your breath, you begin to control your life. And in that stillness, peace is no longer something you chase. It becomes who you are. 3. Let thoughts flow like a river. Imagine standing at the edge of a river, watching leaves float by on the surface. Some drift gently. Others spin wildly in the current. But none of them are you. This is the essence of one of Buddhism's most powerful teachings. Let thoughts flow like a river. You are not the water. You are not the leaves. You are the observer on the shore. Anxiety often comes from believing every thought is a command, every fear is a fact, every emotion is the truth. But Buddhist wisdom reveals something deeper. You are not the voice in your mind. You are the one who hears it. Just like the sky isn't bothered by passing clouds, your mind doesn't need to cling to every thought. Thoughts arise. Thoughts pass. That's their nature. Suffering begins when you try to hold on. There was a student of meditation who used to struggle with overwhelming doubt. Every time he sat in silence, his mind would shout, "You're not doing it right. You're not good enough." But one day, his teacher simply said, "Label it. Say, there's doubt." Then return to the breath. That moment changed everything. Instead of diving into the thought, he watched it. Like a cloud drifting past, it came, it went, and peace remained. Try this the next time your mind spirals. When fear arises, pause. Say quietly, "Here's fear again." When worry shows up, acknowledge it. That's worry. Don't resist, don't judge, just watch. This labeling softens the grip. It creates distance. It reminds you, you are not your thoughts. You are the space they pass through. Use a simple mental cue, like a traffic light. When your stress rises, hit the red light in your mind. Pause, breathe, observe, then gently release. No reaction, no chase. Ask yourself today, which thoughts are you clinging to that were never meant to stay? Can you simply watch without following? This is the shift. When you stop treating your thoughts like truths, they lose their power to control you. The anxious mind wants control, but the awakened mind simply notices. And in that noticing, a powerful calm is born. You don't need to fix every thought. You only need to witness it. A strong, disciplined mind isn't free from thoughts. It's free from being ruled by them. And that freedom starts now, not by pushing thoughts away, but by letting them flow like a river you no longer need to cross. 4. Embrace, don't escape the discomfort. Anxiety isn't always loud. Sometimes it whispers, a restless feeling in the chest, an urge to run from something you can't name. But here's what most people miss. What you run from only runs after you. That uncomfortable emotion, that tight knot in your stomach, it isn't here to hurt you, it's here to teach you. In Buddhist wisdom, the most life-changing shift is this. Don't escape the discomfort, embrace it. Pain is not a punishment, it's a messenger. It knocks, not to terrify you, but to get your attention. The more we resist our emotions, the more power we give them. But when we turn toward them, like a teacher we finally choose to listen to, everything begins to soften. The art of happiness, the Buddha taught, is also the art of suffering well. That means not running, not suppressing, but meeting each emotion with awareness and compassion. There was a man drowning in waves of anxiety. His first instinct was always escape, stay busy, numb the feeling, find control. But it never worked. One day, his teacher asked him to stop and simply say, "Welcome." Welcome the fear. Welcome the panic. Not to make it stronger, but to stop feeding it resistance. He learned the RAIN method. Recognize what he felt, allow it to be there, investigate its roots, and nurture himself with patience. The more he practiced, the less grip anxiety had, not because it vanished, but because it was seen, and seen clearly. Try this the next time fear shows up. Pause, feel it rise, say, "Welcome." Watch what changes. Not outside, but inside. The moment you stop judging your emotions, you stop being ruled by them. Ask yourself, what if your anxiety is here to guide you, not destroy you? Can you sit with discomfort long enough to hear its message? Every time you choose awareness over avoidance, you build strength. You teach your mind, "I can handle this. I don't have to run." And eventually, you discover peace doesn't come from eliminating pain. It comes from making space for it without losing yourself. A strong, disciplined mind doesn't avoid discomfort, it transforms it. When you stop resisting, you start healing. Because what you're willing to face will stop chasing you. And in the stillness that follows, you'll meet yourself, not as someone broken, but someone becoming whole. 5. Drop the illusion of control. We spend so much of our lives gripping, tightening our fists around expectations, timelines, outcomes. We believe that if we just try hard enough, plan carefully enough, control every variable, we'll finally feel safe. But life doesn't follow our script. It moves like a river, wild, unpredictable, constantly flowing. And here's the hard truth. You can't stop the current, but you can stop resisting it. Buddhism teaches that the root of anxiety is not chaos, it's the illusion of control. So many of our fears come from one quiet thought. What if it doesn't go the way I planned? But look around. Has life ever gone exactly the way you imagined? And yet, here you are. The storms you feared have passed. The unknowns you dreaded often led to new beginnings. The Buddhist path invites us to drop the illusion of control and instead surrender to impermanence, to the ever-shifting dance of life as it is. There's a quote that captures it perfectly. "The desire for security is a craving for certainty in a world that is always changing. You can fight the current, or you can float with it. One brings suffering, the other brings peace." There was a woman who tried to plan every detail of her life. She believed certainty meant safety. But when everything unraveled, her job, her relationship, her plans, she broke. In that stillness, with nothing left to control, she began to discover something unexpected: freedom. the kind that comes when you no longer need to force anything. She began writing down 3 things each day that hadn't gone as planned, but still turned out okay. This simple practice shifted her mindset. She stopped fearing change. She started trusting life. Try this. Pause and ask yourself, what's one thing I'm gripping too tightly today? Is it a goal, a relationship, an image of who you think you should be? Now ask, could letting go bring me more peace than holding on? Letting go isn't giving up. It's giving in to the wisdom that life knows what it's doing. You don't have to control every outcome. You only have to show up with presence, patience, and openness. A strong, disciplined mind doesn't cling to control. It trusts the process. Peace isn't found in certainty. It's found in surrender. So loosen your grip, breathe deeply, and let the river of life carry you to places fear could never go. 6. Radical acceptance of what is. Sometimes, the most painful part of life isn't what's happening. It's our refusal to accept that it's happening. We argue with reality. We replay the past, rewrite the present, resist what is. But Buddhist wisdom offers a powerful key to inner peace: radical acceptance. It doesn't mean we like what's happening. It means we stop fighting it. Because as long as you resist reality, you remain a prisoner to it. Acceptance is the soil where peace grows. Resistance is the storm that uproots it. There was once a young man who lost his job unexpectedly. Instead of processing it, he spiraled into panic. This shouldn't have happened. I worked too hard. This isn't fair. Day after day, his anxiety deepened. Then, one evening, he came across a Buddhist reflection. The boundary to what we can accept is the boundary to our freedom. Something shifted. He stopped trying to escape the truth and whispered to himself, "This is what's here. I can work with this." That one moment of acceptance didn't erase his struggle, but it gave him back his power. He stopped drowning in why me and started asking, what now? Radical acceptance is not passive. It's courage in action. It says, this is what I feel. This is what's happening. Now, how do I meet it with clarity and compassion? Try looking in the mirror and gently saying, I accept myself and this moment as it is. Not because it's perfect, but because it's real. And only what is real can be transformed. Next time you feel overwhelmed, ask yourself, am I resisting this moment or receiving it? When you whisper, I allow this, what happens inside your body? Do the clenched fists soften? Does your breath return? It's in this softening that anxiety begins to dissolve, because you're no longer fighting life, you're flowing with it. And in that flow, healing begins, clarity returns, space opens. A strong, disciplined mind doesn't avoid reality. It embraces it with grace. It understands that peace is not in perfect circumstances, but in a peaceful response to imperfect ones. So, let this be your mantra. This is what's here. I can work with this. Say it when plans fall apart. Say it when the past haunts you. Say it when your heart aches, because what you accept transforms, and what you embrace begins to heal. 7. Let go of self-clinging, the false identity. You spend your whole life building an image, who you think you are, who you're trying to be, and how others should see you. You carry it around like armor, but that armor is heavy, and the more tightly you cling to it, the more you suffer. Because the truth is, you are not your story. You are not your name, your failures, your achievements, or the roles you've been assigned. In Buddhist wisdom, this illusion is called self-clinging, the desperate attempt to protect a fixed identity in a world that's always changing. But identity, like everything else, is impermanent. And freedom begins the moment you stop defending who you think you are. There's a quote that echoes through Buddhist teachings. There is no permanent self to protect, only peace to be experienced. Imagine your ego like a shadow puppet dancing on the wall. The more you believe in its drama, the more anxious you become. But shine the light of awareness on it, and it vanishes. All that's left is presence, peace, the space to simply be. A woman once came to a monk in tears. She said, "I've lost everything, my job, my title, my sense of purpose. Who am I now?" The monk smiled gently and said, "You are not what's been lost. You are what's still here, watching." That moment cracked something open. She realized she had been gripping an identity that no longer served her. And when she let go, she didn't become less, she became free. Start watching the moments you feel triggered. Ask yourself, is this really about me? Or the image I'm trying to protect? Are you defending a version of yourself that's already outgrown? Reflect on this question. Who am I without this story? Sit with the silence. Something deeper always answers. Freedom isn't about becoming someone. It's about unbecoming everything that's not truly you. That's why anxiety begins to dissolve when the ego softens. You stop needing to be right, to win, to impress. You just breathe, observe, and live. Without masks, without tension, just truth. A strong, disciplined mind doesn't cling. It lets go. It doesn't protect a false identity. It nurtures true presence. Let go of the need to prove yourself. Release the story you've been repeating. You are not a fixed idea. You are the awareness behind it. And what if your true self never needed defending at all? 8. Rewire your relationship with the present. We often treat the present moment like a waiting room, just something to get through on the way to something better. We rush through the now, eyes fixed on the future, minds replaying the past. And in that constant mental time travel, we miss the only place life ever truly happens. Right here. The present is not a stepping stone, it's the destination. Yet, most of our anxiety stems from our resistance to it. We resist what's happening, compare it to what should be happening, and in doing so, we reject peace. Buddhism teaches that suffering isn't born from pain, it's born from refusing to be here now. There's a simple but profound Buddhist quote: "This moment is a wonderful moment, not because it's perfect, but because it's real. And in its realness, it holds everything we've been chasing: calm, clarity, connection." Imagine walking through a garden with your mind stuck in yesterday's failures or tomorrow's worries. You miss the fragrance, you miss the sunlight, you miss your life. Peace isn't hiding, it's just waiting for you to show up. A young monk once struggled with anxiety. Every time he sat to meditate, his mind raced. What will I do tomorrow? What if I fail? What if I never find peace? One day, his teacher whispered, "You're living in places that don't exist." He didn't understand. Where else am I supposed to live? The teacher smiled and pointed to the monk's breath. "Start here. This is real. Everything else is memory or imagination." Slowly, through presence, the storm began to quiet. He didn't escape his anxiety. He outgrew it by being here. Try this today. Pick one ordinary action, like sipping tea, brushing your teeth, or walking outside, and do it with full attention, no multitasking. Just be. Then ask yourself at the end of the day, where was I truly present today? The more you practice, the more moments you'll gather that weren't stolen by worry. Anxiety is loud because it feeds off distraction. Presence is quiet but powerful. The more you rest in it, the more life softens. That's not magic. That's mindfulness. It's a return to your true home, right here, right now. A strong, disciplined mind doesn't chase peace in the future, it builds it in the now. Every present moment you honor becomes a brick in the foundation of your calm. So ask yourself today, am I mentally time traveling or truly here? What if this moment, this exact one, was already enough? Because maybe, just maybe, this moment is not something to fix, but something to feel. 9. Shift from self-centered to compassion-centered. Anxiety often disguises itself as overthinking, self-doubt, or fear of judgment. But beneath the surface, it's usually something more subtle. A mind orbiting around itself. What if I fail? What do they think of me? Why am I feeling this way? The constant me, my, mine creates a tight space where everything feels personal, urgent, and overwhelming. Buddhism offers a simple but transformative shift. Move from self-centeredness to compassion-centeredness. This one shift can dissolve anxiety like sunlight melting frost. Not because the problems vanish, but because your sense of self expands beyond the narrow walls of fear. If you want to be happy, practice compassion. These words from the Dalai Lama are not poetic advice. They are a psychological truth. When we step outside ourselves and care for another, the storm inside often softens. Imagine anxiety like a tight rope around your chest. Every act of compassion loosens the knot. Why? Because anxiety thrives in isolation. But compassion connects. When we think less about how do I look and more about how can I help, we stop feeding the ego and start nourishing the soul. There's a story of a monk who struggled with crippling fear. His teacher sent him to serve the sick in a nearby village. At first, he resisted. How will this help me? But as he cared for others, his own fears began to fade. Not because he found all the answers, but because his focus shifted from me to we. That's the secret. When the heart opens to others, the walls of anxiety collapse. Try this today. Practice loving kindness. Say silently, may I be happy, may you be safe, may we all be free. Don't wait to feel kind. Sow the seeds and compassion will bloom. Or do something kind without being seen. Send a kind message. Hold space for someone's pain. No reward, no recognition. Just giving for the sake of giving. In these moments, anxiety loses its grip. You remember you're part of something greater. Anxious thoughts say, protect yourself. Compassion says, connect with others. Which voice will you follow? Ask yourself, where can I give love without needing anything in return? What if every time anxiety whispers, you're not enough, you respond with an act of kindness? A disciplined, peaceful mind isn't built by avoiding fear. It's built by expanding love. Compassion is not a weakness. It's armor against the storm inside. So next time the mind spirals inward, let that be your signal, not to collapse, but to connect. Because sometimes the fastest way to quiet your suffering is to ease someone else's. 10. Watch the ego, not the enemy. Sometimes what we call anxiety is not fear of the world. It's fear of losing the story we've built about ourselves. That story, crafted carefully by the ego, whispers that we must be right, admired, strong, untouched. It promises protection, but gives us pressure. It looks like armor, but it's actually a trap. Buddhism teaches us something radical. The ego isn't the enemy, but it is the trickster. It creates a false sense of control, of permanence, of superiority or inferiority. And then, when life doesn't match that illusion, anxiety explodes. We suffer not because of what happens, but because the ego tells us we shouldn't have to suffer. Think of a time you were misunderstood. That quick surge of tension, the urge to correct, to explain, to be seen clearly. That's the ego pulling strings behind the curtain. It wants to be safe, significant, perfect. But here's the truth. Ego says, I shouldn't have to suffer. The soul knows. Suffering is a part of awakening. When we stop trying to defend who we think we are, we begin to see who we truly are. The fear of being wrong, being rejected, being small, it fades when we see it's not the real you being threatened. It's just a mask, a role, a temporary identity. There's power in pausing. When hurt, don't rush to react. Instead ask, is this my soul responding or my ego reacting? One expands, the other contracts. One softens, the other fights. Begin to watch how often you need to prove, to defend, to be right, and gently let it go. There's freedom in not needing to win. There's peace in letting others misunderstand you without losing your center. What if your greatest strength isn't how loudly you speak, but how quietly you stay rooted? Try this. The next time you feel attacked or dismissed, don't respond. Just breathe. Let the ego burn out like a flame without oxygen. Observe the rise of defensiveness and let it pass like a wave. Say to yourself, I am not this ego. I am the sky it passes through. Each moment you do this, you loosen the grip of fear. You stop fighting the illusion and begin flowing with what is. Ask yourself today, are you defending your ego or healing your spirit? Because they often require opposite actions. One clings, the other releases. One argues, the other understands. One resists discomfort, the other grows from it. Can you let go of being right and just be free? The ego will always try to protect you from being small. But the soul knows you were never small to begin with. You just forgot. And the more you remember, the less you'll fear. Not because life gets easier, but because you stop building your worth on illusions. That's the Buddhist thought that destroys anxiety like magic, not by force, but by the quiet power of awareness. 11. Interrupt the pattern consciously. There's a quiet habit most of us carry that steals our peace without making a sound. It's the cycle of unconscious thoughts, stories looping in our minds like old records, playing the same fears, the same doubts over and over again. Anxiety thrives in this repetition. It doesn't need something to go wrong in the real world. It only needs your mind to replay what might go wrong. Buddhism offers a powerful insight. You don't have to smash the record. You just have to lift the needle. Pause, interrupt, become aware, because nothing changes until you do. An anxious thought often begins so subtly. What if I fail? What if they don't like me? What if this never ends? And once the needle drops on that track, it's easy to get swept away by the soundtrack of self-doubt. But here's the secret. You are not the thought. You are the one who sees the thought. That one awareness, that ability to observe instead of obey, is the doorway to peace. Buddhism teaches that suffering persists because we react automatically. But the moment we become conscious, the pattern is exposed and it begins to lose power. Try this simple practice. Set a thought check timer 3 times a day. When it goes off, pause and ask yourself, what's on my mind right now? Not to judge, but to see. Awareness is the first interruption. From there, write it down. Start to journal the recurring thoughts. Notice what themes show up. Is it fear of not being enough? Fear of losing control? Fear of the unknown? Then gently ask, is this true or just familiar? Most anxious thoughts aren't facts. They're habits, mental grooves etched by repetition, not reality. Interrupting the pattern doesn't mean forcing positivity. It means choosing presence over programming. When you feel anxiety rise, don't fight it. Catch the moment. Name the pattern. Here comes the old fear of failing again. By naming it, you step outside of it. You reclaim your power to respond rather than react. This is mindfulness in action. Not something mystical, but something practical. Something you can do right now. Remember, your mind is not the enemy. It's a tool. But if you don't guide it, it will guide you, often into places you don't want to go. So today, be the guide. Choose to become conscious of the thoughts you're rehearsing. Ask yourself, what stories are looping in my head today? And are they creating peace or more suffering? You don't have to believe every thought you think. You don't have to live the same anxious story tomorrow that you lived yesterday. Lift the needle, break the loop. Watch what happens when awareness enters the room. The storm in your mind softens, the noise begins to fade, and in the silence that remains, you rediscover what was always there: clarity, calm, and the quiet courage to begin again. That is how one conscious moment can destroy anxiety like magic. 12. Find beauty in impermanence. There's a quiet power in the things that don't last. A cherry blossom, blooming for only a few days, draws crowds who stand in awe, not because it stays, but because it doesn't. Its beauty is in its impermanence, and that is where anxiety begins to dissolve. You see, anxiety feeds off our clinging, the desperate grip on what we want to keep, what we're afraid to lose, or what we think should never change. But Buddhism teaches a radical truth. Everything changes. Nothing stays. And instead of that being a reason to fear, it's a reason to be free. Think of the last time you felt anxious. Maybe it was a conversation that didn't go how you wanted, a future that felt uncertain, a version of yourself you were trying to hold on to. In all of it, at the center, there was clinging. Clinging to control, to outcomes, to permanence. But look closely. Didn't the feeling pass? Maybe not all at once, but like a cloud across the sky. Didn't it eventually fade? This too shall pass. It always does. The pain, the worry, the overthinking. And when you understand that deeply, not just in the mind, but in your bones, anxiety begins to lose its grip. Here's a practice. The next time anxiety rises, don't resist it. Instead, whisper softly, "This feeling is not forever." Let those words be your anchor. Repeat them until your breath slows, until your mind remembers that this moment, like all moments, will shift. Impermanence is not the enemy. It's the opening. It's the reminder that you are not stuck, that every wave eventually crashes and recedes, that every storm, no matter how dark, gives way to light. Try noticing one thing today for its fleeting beauty: the steam rising from your tea, the laughter of a stranger that fades into the street, the sunlight slanting across your floor at 4 p.m. These things won't last, and that's why they matter. When we stop trying to freeze life in place, we start to see it as it is: precious, delicate, alive. Impermanence doesn't mean detachment from love, it means deeper love. Because you know you don't own anything, not people, not moments, not even your own moods. And so you hold them more gently. You love them while they're here. Ask yourself, can I find peace in knowing everything changes, including this? What are you clinging to right now that is causing you more suffering than freedom? Is it a version of the past? A fear about the future? A need to be someone you're not? What if you released it, even just for today? This Buddhist truth is not about giving up. It's about waking up to life as it really is: beautiful, temporary, and worth experiencing fully. Anxiety loses power when you stop demanding permanence from a world made of change. So love what is here. and then let it go, because that's where magic lives, in the letting go, in the flowing forward, in the gentle truth that nothing lasts. And that's okay. Bonus lesson: build peace into your daily routine. Most people wait for peace like it's a place they'll eventually arrive at, after the to-do list is done, after the relationship is fixed, after the world calms down. But the truth is, peace doesn't wait at the end of the journey. It walks beside you, if you invite it. Buddhism teaches us that peace is not found in what we achieve, but in what we practice. Every day, you brush your teeth to prevent decay. In the same way, your mind and soul need tending. If you don't build peace into your day, pressure builds by default. The question is, does your schedule reflect your anxiety or your awakening? Imagine starting your morning not with scrolling, stress, or caffeine-fueled urgency, but with a pause. Just 5 minutes. Close your eyes. Breathe in deeply. Breathe out slowly. Feel your body. Let your mind arrive. Then ask yourself, what intention will guide me today? Not a goal, an intention. Something like, today, I meet the moment as it is. That's not weakness, that's training. That's brushing the mind clean of yesterday's noise before it clings to today. Throughout the day, pressures may come, yes, but you return to your intention. It becomes your compass. When the anxiety rises, you take one conscious breath. You realign. And when the day ends, instead of collapsing into distractions or doom scrolling, you create a soft closing ritual. Ask, what am I grateful for today? Don't overthink, just one thing. Then ask, what can I let go of tonight? That argument in your head, that thing you didn't finish, that fear that's not your truth. Visualize it like setting down a heavy bag you were never meant to carry into sleep. The Buddha said, peace is every step. Not the loud, public steps, the small ones, the silent ones, the ones no one sees but you. The practice is not about adding more. It's about subtracting what takes you away from your center. The point isn't perfection, it's presence. Even just one peaceful ritual, practiced daily, begins to rewire your nervous system, reshape your emotional patterns, and rebuild trust with yourself. Ask yourself, what one habit can I commit to, not someday but today, for my mental freedom? Is it 5 minutes of silence in the morning? Is it writing down 3 things you're grateful for at night? Start small, but start, because anxiety thrives in chaos and thrives in neglect. Peace, however, thrives in rhythm, in showing up for your soul the same way you show up for your job, your family, your responsibilities. Your inner world deserves structure too. And if that structure is built with love, mindfulness, and repetition, it becomes a home for peace to live in. So don't wait for peace to come find you. Build it, breathe it, live it, step by step, moment by moment, breath by breath. Because that's the secret. Peace is not an outcome, it's a practice, one that begins right now. Quick summary of the principles. The real root cause of anxiety. Anxiety arises not from external situations, but from our attachment to outcomes and the desire to control. Recognizing this root is the first step to freedom. When we detach from expectations, anxiety begins to dissolve naturally. Let go to grow. Breath is the bridge to calm. Mindful breathing pulls you back from the chaos of overthinking into the clarity of the present moment. Just one conscious breath can shift your inner state. Breathe deeply. This is your reset button for peace. It's always available. Let thoughts flow, don't follow them. You are not your thoughts, you are the witness behind them. Learning to observe your thoughts without reacting helps loosen their grip. When you stop identifying with the mind, peace begins to emerge. Embrace discomfort, don't escape it. Resisting emotions strengthens them. Turning toward them with awareness softens their impact. Your suffering is often a signal, not a punishment. Sit with your pain. It might be your greatest teacher. Drop the illusion of control. Trying to control everything leads to anxiety. Life is always in motion. True freedom comes from surrendering to its flow. Trust the unfolding without forcing it into your expectations. Radical acceptance of what is. Peace comes when you stop fighting reality. Acceptance isn't giving up. It's seeing clearly and responding wisely. When you meet the moment as it is, instead of how you wish it to be, you access deep clarity. Let go of the false self. The ego clings to fixed roles, stories, and identities, causing inner conflict. When you release the need to be someone, you begin to experience true freedom. You are not your past or labels, just pure awareness. Rewire your relationship with the present. Most anxiety stems from abandoning the present moment. Train your mind to see now, not as a means to an end, but the destination itself. Presence turns ordinary moments into extraordinary peace. Shift from self-centered to compassion-centered. When you move your focus from me to we, anxiety softens. Compassion expands your heart, opens your perspective, and silences inner judgment. What you give to others, you give to yourself. Watch the ego, not the enemy. Ego-driven thoughts amplify fear and reactivity. Learn to recognize the voice that demands perfection, validation, or control. It's not you. When you stop feeding the ego, anxiety loses its energy source. Interrupt the thought pattern. Anxiety runs on mental autopilot unless you become aware and consciously disrupt it. The act of observing your mind changes your mind. Awareness creates the space where choice and healing happen. Find beauty in impermanence. Nothing lasts, not joy, not pain. Realizing this truth helps you release clinging and fear. When you embrace the fleeting nature of life, each moment becomes more sacred and less stressful. Build peace into your daily routine. Peace is not an accident, it's a habit. Create intentional moments of stillness, gratitude, and reflection every day. These small rituals anchor you and protect your mind from the chaos of modern life. In a world that runs on speed, comparison, and noise, the true revolution is stillness. These 13 principles aren't just Buddhist philosophy. They are invitations back to your original nature, peace, presence, and clarity. They don't promise a life without challenges, but they offer a mind that no longer fears them. Anxiety dissolves when you stop believing everything you think and start observing with gentle awareness. Buddhism reminds us that suffering is optional, not inevitable. The storm outside may rage, but the real battle ends when you stop fueling it from within. As the Buddha taught, peace comes from within. Do not seek it without. When you let go of control, release the ego's grip, and return to the breath, you realize that everything you were chasing, calm, clarity, courage, was already within you. Let these teachings be your compass. Whenever you feel lost in anxiety, come back to the present, your breath, and your being. Ask yourself, not, what's wrong with me, but, what am I holding that I no longer need? There is immense power in simply pausing. Sometimes, the path to healing is less about doing more and more about unlearning. Zen teaches us that the sound of the bell is not the bell, it is the silence that follows. In the same way, your healing isn't in the noise, but in the stillness that follows when you finally stop running. Anxiety may knock on your door again, but you no longer have to invite it in for tea. If these insights moved you, remind yourself you are not alone. Like and share this video Drop your reflections in the comment box and subscribe to Deep Wisdom for more inspiring Buddhist teachings on living a peaceful, mindful life. Let these teachings be your compass. Whenever you feel lost in anxiety, come back to the present, your breath and your being. Ask yourself not, "What's wrong with me?" but "What am I holding that I no longer need?" There is immense power in simply pausing. Sometimes, the path to healing is less about doing more and more about unlearning. Zen teaches us that the sound of the bell is not the bell, it is the silence that follows. In the same way, your healing isn't in the noise, but in the stillness that follows when you finally stop running. Anxiety may knock on your door again, but you no longer have to invite it in for tea. If these insights moved you, remind yourself, you are not alone. Like and share this video, drop your reflections in the comment box, and subscribe to Deep Wisdom for more inspiring Buddhist teachings on living a peaceful, mindful life.